today I'd like to try to answer a question by a young man named Giovanni, an immigrant to the U.S., who grew up as a Catholic, kind of got a little bit away from the practice of his faith, and then met a girlfriend who is Pentecostal. And this Pentecostal girlfriend is kind of raising some interesting questions in terms of his own faith. And so the question is particularly, what is the difference between Pentecostalism and being a Catholic? Obviously the word Pentecostalism comes from the word Pentecost. That was the Jewish feast on which the Holy Spirit descended 50 days, that's what the word Pentecost means, 50 days after Easter, and empowered the apostles and the other people gathered in the upper room to go out and bear witness to Jesus in the power of the Holy Spirit. Pentecostalism would fall generally under the category of Protestantism. It was a version of Christianity that first appeared at the beginning of the last century, so around 1911, 1916, in the form of a revival. People began to pray and then experience some manifestations of the presence of the Holy Spirit that you find in the New Testament. Praying in tongues, prophetic utterances, things of that sort. So Pentecostalism grew and became almost mainstream in what is probably the largest Pentecostal church, the Assemblies of God. It entered into some of the mainstream churches, some of the mainstream Protestant churches in the Catholic Church through what would be called the charismatic renewal. And so there is a link there. Pentecostals historically would tend toward fundamentalism, meaning that they would allow a very, very small range for the use of reason and sometimes stick so literally to the biblical text that it would be almost impossible to kind of develop any doctrine. So we're talking about something that has a number of different manifestations. But generally speaking, they would be evangelical Christians or Christians that would believe in the Holy Trinity and the divinity of Christ, who would have a strong emphasis on the presence and the activity of the Holy Spirit, and specifically praying in tongues, prophesying, praying over people, a very lively sense of the miraculous. The difference between Pentecostalism and the Catholic Church, let me try to put it this way. The word Catholic means full, it means whole, it means complete, it means the entire package. And that means when we see another version of Christianity, we are able to recognize so many elements that we share with people. So when we look at a Pentecostal church and see people praying in the Holy Spirit, even praying in tongues or praying over people, we can say all of those things are also part of our tradition. Sadly, the Pentecostal church and many other evangelical and Protestant churches are not in full communion with us. There are aspects of our faith and life that they wouldn't accept. The role of the Holy Father, the communion of saints, the role of Our Lady, the sacraments, the Eucharist. And yet we would share with them the Scriptures, certainly a clear belief in and understanding of the working of the Holy Spirit. The Holy Spirit is alive and well in the Catholic Church, even in its moments. As a matter of fact, one of the strongest indications that the Church is the Church of Christ is that despite all of our best efforts, we've not been able to destroy it. Thank you very much for that question. I hope these thoughts are helpful in providing an answer.